Bing bum boom. Where was abs when you don't. Right. Carrying on with Ashton's story. It's Saturday morning. Even the whole Sunwell residence. Okay, right. It's a beautiful rise in Barcelona. Ooh, if God is willing, we will meet again someday.
Sup, I'm Ash from the Lodge City. Back at watch out, can't beat me. Looking for trouble? Better not lie. I'm a cool dude, pretty fly for an Asian guy. Sup, I'm Ash from the Lodge City. Back at watch out, can't beat me. Looking for trouble? Better not lie. I'm a cool dude.
Ray, where are you right now?
Now that's a tone I didn't expect from him at this hour. Just thinking how this will go already gives me a headache. Immediately I reach up and pinch the back bridge of my nose to stave it off.
This is why I won't ever drink myself senseless.
What was that?
Nothing, Chief. A pleasant morning to you too.
He's probably calling to rag on me or complain about his wife, which is really none of my business unless it affects my case. It seems like the usual rich man cheats on wife deal. So much for a police inspector. Although, I would have followed up on it if it were somebody else's wife. But figuring it's the chief's, hey, I trust him to come clean if the missus is related to the right shady dealings. This is why I left before they even hauled the woman out last night. I'm not going to go around investigating cheating husbands and wives when it's probably just that. Chief appears to have a different idea in mind, though.
There's nothing pleasant in the morning.
Why is it Monday? I believe it to be Saturday today.
Anyway, where are you? I told you millions of times before to keep your lines open.
He did. And not only by him. Zach, Rebecca, Isabella, all of them have said the same thing numerous times in the past. I was undercover last night. A phone call is the last thing I want to happen when there are other things I need to focus on at the time. Besides, we have radios and work-issued phones. Why isn't he using those channels if this is urgent?
Just woke up, sir. As awesome as it is to hear your voice this morning, it really is early. If you could give me a few minutes just to wake myself up, that'd be swell.
No need for that. This won't take long.
Is something wrong? Am I needed at the precinct ASAP?
Oh no, everything's good over there.
Just what?
Look, kid. Pray. Don't take this personally, alright? You're off the Luxembourg firm case. Starting today.
Well, I did not expect to hear that either. This must be some kind of cosmic joke. I allow some awkward seconds to pass. Chief must be pulling another one of his awful pranks. Out of his bad mood or severe hangover, maybe? Everyone knows that, when given the chance, he exercises no control with his drinking. If it wasn't for his wife causing a stir, he'd probably be trashing an hour in at the party. He likely drank more after they threw her out of the ballroom. Besides, this sense of humor has never been good. It's just infuriating most of the time. When he doesn't follow it up, if I sound a tiny bit frustrated, speaking of...
Wait, no. What? Are you kidding, Chief? Is this one of your practical jokes again? The Temps won't say anything about it, but
It's not that. They're orders. From the higher-ups.
Ah, the higher-ups, yes. To quote Jontron, "Oh, my favorite!" A very sarcastic favorite. Since when did the higher-ups ever cared about what the Criminal Investigation Department did? As far as I could tell, they don't give a hoot if CID is filled with cold cases, as long as we keep the spending low. Hey, think about cold case, you can get someone to work on it, even if if it's past the expiry date. They can do that. When I need to view these old case files, though, they're locked away in the archives. You're gonna have to check with the higher-ups. I need access to these reports. See if the higher-ups would allow it. Every step, every move that she makes me feel like never before. Anyway, in this case, there isn't one, right? If it's not the chief, it's the commissioner. Or so they always tell me. It makes one wonder why they even bothered assigning it to anyone. Not a single one of them has done anything to help move the case. and they wonder why it has taken this long for even a hint of progress to show.
You can't just drop this on me. You can't just take me off like that.
Yes, I can, and I will. Bye-bye.
Yes, I can. And I'm sorry.
That's more or less what I said.
You're a good detective. One of the best I've seen in years, but
3 years, Chief. 3 years.
Mm-hmm. 3 years since the anonymous tech leak blew up. Since Luke Wright's name was openly linked to several nasty dealings within Luxborn's corporate world, some of them involving death. No wonder it's, we don't go into Ashton's mystery until right now. 3 years, and I was the only one who made it this far. Much made progress that officers with more experience weren't able to do when they handled this case. Just within a year, and with barely any help from this brass at that. Of course, I'll be pissed.
Do you know what would have happened if I didn't work my ass off on this thing? If I didn't, it would have gone cold, like every fucking case Luke Wright has been linked to. I saved this from getting thrown into the archives, sir. I'm getting close. If you could just...
I'm fully aware of what you've done, Frey. But the Commissioner hasn't been happy with your progress. Still too slow by their standards.
Too slow? Well, what about those reports I filed? I've documented every freaking thing for them. I've given you every important lead I can gather. Isn't that enough?
They need results, not a bunch of research papers. Not one baseless assumption after another. Concrete proof, Frey. I'm really sorry. They've already made a decision. They're going to pass this on to someone who's been in the force longer. Someone who has more experience.
Someone who has more experience?
They meant nothing by it, but you're still too young to work on a case this big.
Excuse me. Do you have any idea who you're talking to? How old is he, actually? How old is Ashton, actually? How old is he? Profiles. Ashton is, he's, 29 years old. He's old enough! He's smart! He's young! He's fresh! You know, full of energy! So what if he's still in his 20s? He's near 30!
Chief, I've already done more than what those old farts ever did behind their desks. All of it, within just a year of being assigned to this.
Yeah, I hear a lot of police investigators retire at middle age, so you might need the younglings. Thank you very much.
Watch your language, Frey. Those are your superiors,
I'm not some damn rookie fresh out of training. I'm as qualified as they are.
Futile, I know it is. They'd never say it within my earshot, but from the very minute I stepped into their precinct, a lot of them had underestimated me, from their stares alone to the assignments I get. To them, I'm still just a kid. Too young, too green, too inexperienced. It's the Asian look, isn't it? And when they pull that card on me, every argument I get gets thrown out the window. No matter how logical it is, how much I've accomplished, what the record says, or the amount of work I put in every investigation they've thrown my way.
We're all aware of your skills, kid. You wouldn't have that badge and rank if you weren't good enough. However, this case is just not for you. Too high profile, too risky to put a good officer like you in harm's way.
Can he even hear himself? That reasoning in itself is odd. No one joins the line of work without knowing the dangers of it.
Don't I get a second chance?
Seriously, this is a line of profession about common sense. Does this sound commonsensical to you, Chief?
You said it yourself. I'm a good detective. It'll just be a matter of time before we can close this.
It doesn't matter what I think, Frey. You're off the case, and that's final.
Come on, have some faith in this guy, would you? He's managed to go so far that far. It's not blind faith, he's managed to do all sorts of things as a detective with this case. Come on.
I expect all related files and documents on my desk by Monday morning. And to go touch anything. I know how hard-headed and determined you are.
Chief, please. A few more weeks. I'll have the proper evidence left on your desk by then. I swear it won't take longer than that.
Afraid it's too late, boy. I've already informed the other officers. You aren't to be allowed access until you've been given a new assignment. Hell, just keep out of the precinct, Ray. Take the weekend off.
Seriously, Chief, is this about last night? If this is about me being at that party, I have a good reason for...
You were at the party.
It makes me pause. His wary tone, the sudden careful note in his voice. Chief! You saw me there! Slowly a frown forms my face, my eyebrows knitting together in confusion. Much as I hate to say this about my own boss, there's also suspicion in it. Hard not to think of it, that way seeing how he acted around Hannah Wright last night. Is he worried? Why should he be? Everyone who's anyone was invited. I didn't doubt for a second why he received an invite. Even in his presence was questionable. There's something wrong and I've unintentionally walked into it. All I have is a sneaking suspicion. But when one looks at this from a different angle, put everything together. Why on earth I've been taking off the case might be the same reason he was there in the first place.
Yes, Chief, I was. A friend invited me to go with her. What were you doing there? I know we don't have a strict rule against attending functions, but that was...
He coughs, and it almost sounds like he's choking on his own excuses, lies? I don't want to accuse him of anything yet. He's someone I've respected since I've joined LPD, even his bizarre sense of humor and tendency to procrastinate. He's obviously competent enough to get the job done. He wouldn't be Chief Inspector of Luxburn Police if he wasn't. He wouldn't last years in service without some track record backing him. Unless that too is a fluke. But what's backing him is not something, but someone. Oh. Oh, poop.
Chief Harvey, about last night with the...
Why does it matter, Fry? This isn't about that.
Why does it matter? Why does it matter? I'll recite the whole oath we've taken upon being sworn into service if I can, but at this point, it seems too late to remind him of that. He has probably already moved from serving and protecting people to serving and protecting his own interests. I've suspected the upper brass of it, even the lower ranked subordinates in the force, but from my own boss? No wonder that leak didn't lead anywhere. Someone closer might have been pulling the strings. I might have been set up to fail long before the case has been assigned to me. But I don't want to just give this up. Oh, no. I don't want to believe I've wasted an entire year over this. I don't want this to be the kind of news to tell Professor Clark after all those promises I've given the man.
I just want to know, sir, at the party, with Luke and Hannah Wright, you were...
Monday, Detective Inspector. First thing in the morning. Every copy of the files you have, I want to see it all on my table. Understood?
This isn't...
Frey, am I understood?
What else can I do other than smile and nod? With my own superior expecting an answer, using that tone, brushing my questions off as easy as discarding a dead body.
Yes. Yes, sir.
He cuts the line as soon as the words are out. You're off the case, Frey. Just like that. Funny why this still caught me off guard. I've discovered years ago how different the actual thing is. How far from reality everything I've believed in as a dreamy-eyed kid. There are no high-speed pursuits every day. No thrilling gunfights or exciting cases every step of the way. Only paperwork. Lots of red tape. And dealing with the politics and bureaucracy. Man. Well, I can see why Ashton's got a cynical nature about him. Pity. It's just as Screwtape from the Screwtape letter says. It's what happens when someone who read Greek myths goes down to actually studying Greek. Or when lovers get married. Reality kicks in. Reality's gonna hit us sooner or later. Yeah. Eternal hope is what keeps us going. At least that's real too. I've set out to change things, hoping it'll make things better for the people I care about. It ended up changing me instead. Serves me right for being too idealistic, I guess. This is probably the universe telling me that it's better to remain the skeptic I really am. Too right. Now here I am, standing useless. Can't even do anything but grit my teeth and kick the wall. The jerk didn't even acknowledge my response.
What did the poor wall ever do to you?
Rebecca. It figures Rebecca would be the one to find me in this embarrassing state. Honestly, I don't like it when she sees me like this. Which seems to happen a lot, regardless of what I want.
Rebecca, now's not a good time.
The concern I expect from her when I turn isn't there, however. Instead, she just looks, well, the storm I left brewing last night. It's right there on her face, ready to be unleashed.
When is it ever a good time for you? You're always so busy with everything now. Now I find you here, sneaking out without even bothering with a proper goodbye. Not even a word. Really, I'm starting to think you're just keeping me around from my couch and my cooking.
Becca, it's not what you're thinking. I wasn't planning on sneaking out. I was going to say goodbye. I just had to take this call. Although, I'm not gonna lie, couch is great. 10 out of 10. Would sleep again.
Stop it with the jokes, Ashton. I'm on the mood.
Her bitterness is not lost on me, but at this point, our friendship and our lives, how does she still expect me to answer that? What am I supposed to tell her now?
Are you still mad about last night?
She immediately raises an eyebrow at me, which, to be honest, is all the response I need. Seeing her like this makes me believe those things Z-Man says, the part where Rebecca scares him sometimes. I've certainly seen this more than once already, but the familiarity of it doesn't really take away from the downhill turn this conversation's starting to take. Only an awkward cough serves as a way to stall.
Okay, of course you're still mad. But whatever happened last night, I really am sorry. I'll apologize as many times as you want. If you want, I'd even kneel or something.
Ashton, an apology is nice and all, but that's not what I wanted to hear from you today.
Yeah, I can feel you, Ashton.
Alright, fine, okay. Where do you want to start?
Oh, I don't know. I've honestly lost track of it by your third trip to the buffet table.
Just checking. Right, yeah, I can still go back to Rebecca's story if things go wrong here. Yeah, specifically this part. Okay, right.
I wasn't... The drive up there took a bit. Can you blame me if I wanted to grab some appetizers?
Oh, come on, Ash! For the whole evening? For the whole party? Please don't tell me that's all you did, because I've never known you as someone who pigs out. You even took great lengths to avoid me. Should I also mention how you ignored Zach? Sometimes I get the feeling you don't want to be seen with us in public. Some friendship, huh?
You know it's not like that. It's never going to be like that, Becca.
Maybe you even just used me to get into the party. You said yes to being my plus one, but you were rather excited to just peel yourself off, weren't you? Honestly, I'm feeling a bit used.
I couldn't even look her in the eye. It wasn't that I lied to her, I honestly wanted to be there. To keep Zach safe. To keep Rebecca safe. Just in case. Client or family friend, it was still a party hosted by a person of interest. By a man accused years ago of murdering a person's wife to get what he wanted. Maybe I should have let them redeem each other. I mean, I didn't expect it to go like this. But maybe this is the only way to get to the bottom of the mystery or something. Then Chief showed up. Hannah Wright happened, and Luke Wright just couldn't be bothered to die peacefully somewhere. And all of a sudden, none of my original reasons mattered. If I was found out, right there and then, if Zach and Rebecca's connection with me was found out, who knows what might have happened. But Rebecca doesn't understand that. Doesn't understand what I can and can't say to keep them from harm. It's all in her eyes, in the tight line of her lips and her furrowed brows. The hurt.
I'll ask this again. Just what were you up to during the party? What were you doing that you couldn't even take 2 seconds to make time for your friends?
This day is just off to a wonderful start. First my case, now Becca. Stretch the truth? What do you mean, stretch the truth? Do you mean, like, distort it? It's just, it's confidential. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, she's a friend. Stretch the truth. Okay, what do you mean by stretch the truth, game? I'm gonna look that up. Just give me a moment. Give me a moment. Alright. Stretch. Meaning. To say something that is not exactly true. Describe something as larger or greater than it really is. No. I'm not in it for the lies. Sorry. Confidential.
It's confidential, Rebecca.
Sorry. I wonder how many times I've told her that. I'm not just her. My dad, my mom, Zach, and even Isabella. How many times have I told them what essentially boiled down to mind your own business, to make sure they're all safe, to keep them out of danger. My job isn't a game. It isn't as glamorous as a television portrays it to be. I had thought so, too, as a child. I'm beginning to think maybe I should have gotten her to speak softly, but I didn't know where that choice was going towards. I was so clueless back then, wasn't I? This isn't gonna lead to a death, is it? But boy, did I learn. The good guys don't always win. Justice isn't always served in this life. Investigation is not looking at a crime scene once you get to a eureka moment. Well, at least there is a standard for justice, am I right? It's sleepless nights at the crime lab with the tech guys. It's several days wearing the same clothes with Chinese takeout stains. It's frustration when bureaucracy hinders you from looking into a case any further. Or when you know the suspect is guilty, but they get away scot-free on a technicality. It's seeing anger and pain and despair with every case.
I know you have a mountain of questions, but I've told you this so many times before. I can't say much more than that.
This is reality here. Still, the look on Rebecca's face, the resentment and the pain, it hurts me as well to think that I'm the cause for that. I'm a familiar one too, something I've seen a lot of over the years. Even though this whole game is a fictional story, it does a really good job grounding itself in reality with these, like, there's all this drama, there's jobs, histories and witches and bureaucracy and stuff like that. Anyway, I wonder how long it will take before Zach starts giving me the same one. Or until I've hurt Isabel in a way that any sincere apology won't ever be enough. What a mess. I'm a mess, and it's the people close to me who have to suffer for it.
Official police business, huh? So you did use me?
Used. The way she utters it just makes me feel like a total scumbag. It's not like I did it all on purpose. Yeah, just tell her that. I didn't do it on purpose. I can't just hold someone else responsible for this, right? Who am I going to blame? The chief? Hannah Wright? Luke Wright? Doing so feels like cowardice. It doesn't change the fact that I'm the one who puts us in this situation. I couldn't even look at her anymore, but this guilt eating up inside of me. I can feel you, Ashton. Oh, she's in a good mood? Half-heartedly, with barely a hint of cheer in it, but it's a laugh nevertheless. I honestly don't know what to make of that. Neither do I. What to do with myself upon hearing it. It's almost like the mere sound of it means to pierce.
The least you could have done is tell me. Maybe I could have helped. Kept an ear and an eye out for you.
Ah, why didn't I think of that?
I don't know. I could have been Irene Adler, maybe?
Hey, and I could be the Sherlock Holmes, and Zach could have been the Watson? All he needs is a nice bowler hat and a medical degree. Her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes, but the mask she tries so hard for me. Oh, I give her a smile of my own, though I imagine it comes off as unenthusiastic as hers. It's far easier to slip back to banter when it's like this, to just brush off everything. At least this way we wouldn't have to deal with awful things.
The woman? Don't flatter yourself. Nancy Blue, more like.
Her sidekick would beg to differ, Ashton.
Ah, shit. I couldn't stop a wry grin from forming in my lips. She probably still has the photo from that contest. Keeps it in her old diary. I never did find either of the two after I threatened to burn them. In the end, I just never brought it up again, hoping she'd just forget about the whole thing. But the small smile on her face, yeah, it says a lot. Those were good times. A lot simpler, a lot more peaceful. Now things have changed. We're no longer the same people we were as kids. Growing up together doesn't mean it always has to be just the two of us in the first place. It's a dumb notion to believe in when nothing ever remains constant. Things will inevitably change through the years. In fact, it already has long ago. Not just with the people we allowed into our respective lives, but also with us, as people, as friends. It really does get complicated as we get older, doesn't it? Not everything has to be, though. Even in the form of a promise, I have no idea when I'll be able to fulfill it.
I swear, I'll explain when it's all over.
The silence afterwards brings an even heavier air between us. Something that Rebecca, thankfully, doesn't allow to linger more than necessary.
I suppose you have to go now, huh?
Well, at least they're starting to get along, and they're not too bitter towards each other. Okay, thank God, right. Difficult. Messed up. As if it isn't already.
Back to your case again?
About that. I don't really have to. I have no case. As far as the job is concerned, I have the weekend off, until I have to report to Chief on Monday. Well, just because we're off the case doesn't necessarily mean we can't investigate the case during our spare time, right? I mean, I assume all of you have seen Lilo and Stitch, right? Remember that scene where Jumba and Pleakley tried so hard to capture Stitch, but the council they were working for were getting fed up with their inconsistency, so they fired them, but then Jumba said, "We're fired! Yes! Now we do things my way!" Pleakley goes, "Your way?" And then Jumba's way practically almost succeeds. So we have that. Although I don't want to just throw in the towel on this. Orders are orders. This isn't like the movies. I don't just get to say, "Step off!" throw my gun and badge at him, become some vigilante, save the day, and get my job back. Well, I suppose there's that too. I'd rather get my ass thrown in jail than do any of that. But it's also not in my nature to sit still and do nothing. It'll drive me crazy if I just sit idle about. Besides, there's someone who has to know about this whole Luke Wright thing.
Yeah, I need to go talk to Professor Clark. And there's something else I need to look into.
The other matter she mentioned last night specifically. Things even the news has been blasting out in the general populace lately. Evening, afternoon, morning, all deaths with the same modus, blamed on a single serial killer. Or is it still the case?
Found dead in the early hours of the morning sky. The body was contained in the room and no other damage or harm, according to Lockton police.
We're grasping at straws as far as these murders are concerned. In the first place, I'm not even the one heading this investigation. Yet, look at me, treating it as if it's another high-profile case on my shoulder. How sad is that? Although all three of my friends have mentioned seeing something strange, I don't want to go into that line of thinking for now. Not yet. Not until I've exhausted every logical argument I could throw at it. Whenever you're investigating any truth claim, you gotta investigate both sides of the argument, or multiple sides, depending on who's looking at it. And then, you gotta remember these following facts. Science never says anything. Scientists do. So, this is where common sense comes in, because, science can't exactly prove everything. You gotta use your thinking. You gotta use your morality to eventually come to the conclusion of what makes more sense. That's how detective work works. To be honest, though, I don't know how to take all this anymore. Just follow the evidence of all fields of discipline and see where it leads. I've already given Isabella my word. It bothered me more if I didn't follow up on a promise I made to her. And after Rebecca's claim last night, there won't be enough sarcasm in the world if what my friends have been telling me is true. I can already hear Isabella's laughter, in fact.
Figures. What else can it be?
It's not another case. It's something else. That issue Isabella mentioned yesterday morning. I'm sure you remember. You were there.
Well, at least you're not neglecting all your friends.
Yay!
Becca, I promised her I'll...
She doesn't wait for me to finish. With a roll in her eyes, she turns around and shuts the door in my face. I have no idea what I've said this time, but...
I probably deserve that.
We'll just have to fix this some other time. By then, her temper is sure to have cooled off significantly. Hopefully. Well, I'm getting some Studio Ghibli music now. Ooh. Listen to that. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, yes. I like this scene. Imagine if there was just someone playing the piano in one of these apartments. For now, I can't laze around. Gotta attend to things that matter more. Professor Clark first. Deliver the bad news. Then that issue with BRC and Isabella. Maybe I'll drop by Zach's, check on him, hear what he has to say. He also has to read that letter. He also has read the letter, I was meant to say. I might as well, while I'm here, playing a paranormal detective. Or was it supernatural? I can't remember. That's kind of the same thing, is it not? Whatever. It wouldn't hurt anyone if I tried to get to the bottom of this. I suppose if he's investigating in his spare time, no one's suspecting the letter, so might as well look into that. If nothing comes of this, good. Everyone can shut up about stupid curses, and we can finally get back on track with our lives, onto more important stuff. If there is something...
Are you two done?
Oh. There's a moment of confusion when I don't see her family ponytail. A familiar ponytail, rather. Only to find her standing behind the door of her apartment, seconds later. I think, Ashton's beginning to think, okay, if the letter does indeed lean towards the supernatural proof, then perhaps we should keep an open mind. This could be true. Because anything's possible, but not everything's probable, you know? Isabella holds it open, though only slightly, as if to hide from anyone who might happen to pass by. This early and on a lazy weekend, I doubt anyone would. But from the gap and what little light there is behind her, I could make out the appearance of someone who has just clearly gotten out from bed. Hair in complete disarray, eyes still heavy with sleep, and a small pout on her lips. She hasn't even gotten out of her pajamas. I look away long before my sense of decorum kicks in. We might be friends. I'll even dare say we've grown closer over the years. But that doesn't extend beyond the bounds of propriety. Blasphemy, even Rebecca never greets early visitors in their sleep clothes. Remember the Ten Commandments, buddy. Anyway, though maybe it's our fault why she's up this early. Still, heat makes a little crawl up my neck, one that I quickly downplay with a solid cough.
Isabella, you're up early.
Lame.
No, I'm not. I'm usually up at this hour. You're the one that usually sucks at getting up early.
Her pajamas are the same clothes she wears every day.
Says the person who looks like she's just fallen out of bed.
Instead of the usual quip, she simply averts her gaze to some point beside her. And although it only flashes briefly across her face, an expression of, hurt flickers in her eyes? It disappears the second she turns her attention back to me, but that moment has sent a worried twinge in my stomach. I've seen it in her plenty of times before. Just never in a matter that unsettles. It feels, I don't know, off this time. I didn't say anything wrong, did I?
Hey, are you...
Anyway, was that Becca with you? You
That-
both sound like Mama and Papa when they fight. You're awfully loud. If we get another memo from the landlady, I'm asking the guard to ban you from ever entering this place.
Remind me how old she is again. She's 26 years old. Got it. Okay.
Me? Becca's the one almost shouting.
Yeah, well, she lives here. You don't. You have no excuse. You're the suspicious-looking person.
Thanks. Glad at least one person appreciates how I pretty up this place.
Don't flatter yourself. This place would be so much better without having to see your face every few days.
She follows it up with another pout. But her ruffled appearance, particularly how puffy her eyes are, I noticed just now, takes away from the intimidating effect she's trying to show. Really, right now, she just looks more like an angry puppy. I might have laughed had it not given me another nagging sense that something is definitely wrong with her. What? Has she been crying earlier? Oh, okay, that is worrying. She rarely does that. The only time it happened, the only time I've ever seen her genuinely tear up over something, I think it was after Delvin Court the night of the bridge. I want to ask. She seems determined to keep it to herself, though.
Belle, did something...
About yesterday, Ash. And things we talked about. Do you think we can take a look at it today?
We? I never said you're coming with me. Don't worry, I didn't forget about it. You'll be the first to know if I find anything.
No, I want to go with you. I'll be ready in a few. This won't take long.
Please have some breakfast. You don't want to be malnutrition. If any high school students are watching this, please, eat your breakfast before going to school. Don't just skip breakfast. That's the most important part of the day, you know, breaking fast.
Isabella, you really don't have to. I can handle it on my own. You'll just...
If you're wondering what that bell sound was, that was just the sound of another edited project finished converting in the background, just so you know.
I won't get in the way, I promise. Besides, maybe I can help. You know, if there are files you want to check.
Well, she's good at that. I don't like what she's implying. It's true, LPD's having a hard time with this. But taking Isabella with me? It's out of the question. Under normal circumstances, yeah.
You're the one who's going to get in trouble if you do that.
You said it yourself. You need information. And I can help you get that.
Sweet.
And it's not like it matters anymore. I just don't want to stand around doing nothing today.
Alright. Sweet. Ashton's got himself a sidekick. Woo! Thank God for Isabella. Right. There it is again. The slight shift in her eyes. The mild crease forming between her eyebrows and the mild slump in her shoulders while she crosses her arms tightly around herself. Like she's shielding herself from whatever painful thing there is out there. I have plenty of reasons why I shouldn't let her tag along. First and foremost, she's a civilian. Second, I have no concrete plan of action. Yet. I'm going into this blind. No matter how I look at it, it's simply better for her to just wait so she won't be dragged into what might have been another one of my failures. Just think it through. At some point, you're gonna have to take that leap of faith, boy. So, just think now. Is it rational to bring her along with you or not? Her assumptions might be a dead end for all we know. But seeing that expression on her, hearing her speak those words out loud in a desperate, almost pleading tone, I can't bring myself to say no. So I give in, because right there, I see myself in her. A person who doesn't want to stay idle, who doesn't want to think of the problems haunting him. My.
Alright, 5 minutes.
What? You're timing me?
Well, I can't wait forever. I'm a very busy guy. 4 minutes and 45 seconds, Isabella.
I hate you so much.
4 minutes and 30 seconds. 29, 28. I'd hurry if I were you.
You're awful. I hope you never get a girlfriend.
Careful what you wish for and stop complaining. Get changed. He slams the door. I heard him chuckle, although my chuckle's the mirth and lightness to its linger. With her, those have always come easy somehow, even as it echoes, fades, and the only ghost of a smile remains.
It's not like I'm looking for anyone else.
I want to tell her. It's not because I can't. I won't. I'm the only one who has chosen not to, until I've fixed myself. Until I've found myself underneath all that guilt and those lies I've been telling all these years. Because no matter how heavy the weight of those feelings are, I am not yet worthy of them. Of her. Until then, little words and gestures are the only things I can offer. Minor stuff such as digging deeper into this thing with BRC in order to ease her worries. I'm not even sure if this will give us anything. Unlike with the firm case, which I already have proper leads on, I'm just going by her words on this. Speaking of the Luxburn firm case, I still have to inform the professor. The apprehension's there for sure. I've made a lot of promises to the man, and I would have preferred to tell him in person, not even over the phone, but it's better for him to hear it from me rather than from a stranger. Oh, speaking of which,
Ashton,
Not running today, Professor?
he's usually at the park at late Saturday mornings as long as it isn't raining cats and dogs. Followed by next week's forecast of raining kangaroos all the way from Australia by the southwest winds. Keeps him young and healthy, he says, and he's certainly fit for a man of his age with a sedentary job.
oh no, not today.
He's definitely at the usual place, though. Cheers and laughter, likely from children and families, filter through the receiver. I tend to avoid the park precisely because of this. No use reminding myself of the could-haves when it's already over. It's already over now. Mom's doing well with her career. Dad also fine the last time I visited, although neither remarried. They're both content with their lives as it is. I'm probably the only one still caught up with it, hence my aversion. But all in all, it's still a pleasant sight to see if you're the kind who takes joy in such sights like Professor Clark does.
Just thought I'd enjoy the nice weather before it takes a turn for the norm again. And to what do I owe the pleasure?
The guy certainly seems happy right now in any case. I almost don't want to break the news to him. But it's better to get this off quick as long as he doesn't shoot the messenger. He's not the type. However, a long-hold resentment can change a person, even someone as mild-mannered as a professor.
I was hoping to talk to you about the case.
I suppose I'm just the downer today. As soon as I say those words, he pauses, and the lightness in his voice is gone in an instant. Every time we've talked about this in the past, he does that. He's probably trying to gauge the situation based on the tone of my voice. Perhaps it's a good thing I'm delivering this news through my phone. Who knows what you'll see in my face and my mannerisms. The art of keen observation? I learned it from this man. He probably already has the idea.
You aren't in trouble, are you?
For a second, I hesitate, looking at the dirt beneath my shoes. But I manage eventually, after a long, rugged draw of breath.
Well, I'm in a bit of trouble, if you can call it that.
Ashton,
He only assumes that tone when there's a reprimand at his heels.
But I'm not in danger or anything.
you've said that same excuse a million times before, Detective Inspector. That exhausted rasp in your voice tells a different story.
It's nothing like what you're thinking. Don't worry. I was taken off the Luxborn firm case.
I expect anger, but he gives me a small sigh of relief.
Is that so? Well, at least you aren't in danger. Liz wouldn't be too happy if she heard you right now.
Liz. Aunt Liz, she insisted I call her. His late wife. A sweet-tempered woman by so many standards. They were never blessed with kids, and contented herself with simply managing their bakery. But she's the closest I had to a mother in the few years I had known her. The professor, too. In the absence of my own parents in my life, the two filled the ache their divorce left in me.
Believe me, you'd get an earful. You don't want to show up at her doorstep looking like you haven't slept a wink either.
How many years has it been since 9? 10? I can still remember it vividly. 2 men, primly dressed, briefcases in hand, and a stern look on each other's faces. They were already frequent visitors to the bakery for a few months. I think they were hoping to settle a deal with them, but neither of the couple gave in to their demands. Aunt Liz sent me home early that night. And the next morning, news of a bakery razed to the ground had spread across the whole city. A few weeks later, the property was sold to Wright Enterprise. A hotel now stands in its place. Of course, an investigation can be launched after the incident. The name Luke Wright was briefly at the center of it, but with the lack of any evidence, the case ultimately went cold. The professor hides it as well. However, I can tell that he hates that man to this day. He might even blame Luke Wright for every tragedy that happens in the city. He has never blamed me, though, when I must equally responsible. I knew something's off the moment those men stepped inside the shop. I could have saved her that night. I could have prevented anything that happened to her, called for help or whatever. I didn't. So it continues to eat at me, even at today, the guilt. The decade-old case! Man, oh man! The Luxburn firm case would have been our chance at reopening the whole case. The old case, rather, if we could prove Luke Wright for his crimes. Isabella, your time's up! Instead, we're back to square one. No, please, wait. Yet, all he has to do for me are words of comfort. To think he can still be this concerned about me and about my carelessness after I've broken another promise at a second time. People never cease to amaze me.
You might think that you have failed as an officer. Or maybe you think that you have failed me. And you know more than anyone. I would love to see that man taken down. If anyone deserves to be tried in high court, it's him.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm glad nothing's happened to you while you were working on this. That's what's most important. I need to get news like that again.
Suddenly he stops. I imagine a thoughtful look flashing in his eyes as he thumbs the wedding band on his ring finger before he continues. Another habit. He has never removed it since that day. Has never thought once to remarry, even when he managed to continue with his life and return to some semblance of normalcy. In his way of honoring her, I suppose, when he couldn't bring to justice the man responsible for the loss. Some people are just hard to forget.
It's not like another death. Yours or even his. Will bring back my wife.
Silence falls between us afterwards. I don't quite know what to say after that, really. Should I apologize? Show some sympathy? Going into this, I should have thought of something other than just breaking the news to him. As it is, it seems the only thing we can do is feel sorry for each other's misfortunes.
I apologize, too, for putting you up to this.
In another occasion, under different circumstances, I might have accepted that, but...
You didn't have to, but you've already done more than any officer who has investigated this. So don't worry about this, old man. I know your department's people all have their hands full recently, too. What with the upsetting news we've been getting as of late. Deaths almost every day. I'm not entirely sure if that has anything to do with the other. It seems too big even for someone like him. But if this is that man's doing...
Professor, please.
Maybe if things around me hadn't started going beyond my control, the letter, the mansion, the supposed curse behind those, I'd still be quick to blame in all of the... But as much as I want to keep holding him responsible for it, to add another to his list of sins, it might not be the case. Agreeing will only cut the deeper wound on the professor. I don't want him to keep clinging to his resentment for much longer. He has already gone through so many years of it. This kind of anger is the sort that blinds people. Despite his reassurances, the bitterness still seeps into every syllable he utters. It's one thing for me to act like this. It's painful to watch someone I've considered a second father go down this path.
Please don't apologize. It's really all right. I can try to get it back on Monday when I meet with the chief. No promises, but if not, I'll make sure to keep an ear out for any news. chief said he's passing it on to a senior officer. I should be able to catch a few tidbits every once in a while. But I swear I won't just give up on this. I'll do everything in my power to get Aunt Liz's case reopened for you.
Promises again. A bad habit at this point. I wish I could do more for him at this time. I've prided myself over being the one to always know. Because suddenly, aside from Wright and the murders plaguing the city, I have ghosts and curses to worry about. Things that are probably out of my depth. I said probably, yeah, that said completely, I apologize. Professor Clark's right in some way. Things would be so much easier if we just blamed Luke Wright for all this. At least finding evidence would be a breeze, and I'd be all too happy to put him in a place he belongs. Although if he was in any way also complicit to what's happening, legalities have my hands tied. But maybe that's my fault. I might have missed the ticket to closing the case once and for all last night. If only I had done a better job during the party. But then, the commotion. There was Hannah Wright and Rebecca distracting me from my purpose too. I'd include that gate crasher as well, even though it's only for a moment. So many things have gone wrong last night that...
This isn't a prank! I saw something! See? This is why I didn't want to tell you guys! It's not a joke! Will you guys listen to me first? I saw something in the house earlier. It stood right in front of me. If I hadn't gotten away, that thing might have...
Last night, at the party.
But it's real! What do you think I saw?
So the people who read the letter are the only ones who could see the ghost. The witch ghost.
It happened after, when I was trying to get away. I almost got stuck in the same room with that thing. We're all in danger. I thought you were my friends. Why don't you believe me?
That woman.
Why don't we all calm down first? I'm sure Isabella has her reasons too. No need to be hard on her.
That was what Isabella had been warning us about. If it was the same thing Rebecca talked about last night. Sorry, Clark, I had to stop the call to have flashbacks. I'm calling you again. How many of these instances have I dismissed since reading the letter? How many have I ignored and passed off as some effect of fatigue or lack of sleep? Even last night, a hallucinogenic lacing the food is the first thing I considered. Purely because that's what my training dictates. It's a mindset, I've grown used to it. I mean, it's a healthy skepticism. You know, something goes wrong, you try to come up with the assumptions. But then you follow the evidence, and wherever the evidence leads, whether it's natural or supernatural, you gotta accept it. No presuppositions, no exceptions. Everything's got a cause to it, no matter how bizarre it is. You know what they say, the truth is stranger than fiction. Of course, I'm not discounting all that yet until I have enough information, something to form a conclusion from. Yes, thank you. Proof, in whatever for it may come. Whether it's natural or supernatural, see? But thinking straight is impossible when all of a sudden all your beliefs are being upturned, in the most violent way possible at that. Like I said, science can't explain everything. I need a sounding board. Blasphemy. I need to talk to someone, and Zach's the best person for that.
I have to go, Professor.
Oh, no problem. But what are you?
I don't have time to stop and listen to what the professor has to say, as I cut the call short. That took more than 5 minutes. As usual, she greets me with a smile, but it falls as fast as she catches a glimpse of my face. Shame. That would have been the first comforting thing I see today. It annoys me that I'm partially responsible for the worried one replacing it. I mustn't look close at a picture of someone choking or dying, because there's nothing but concern in the first words she speaks.
Ash, do you need to go to the bathroom?
That's a good point. Do you need to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't, okay. But we should hurry. Come on, don't forget to lock your door.
Seriously, you look like you're about to fall over. Are you alright? Because if you're planning to faint right here, I won't be able to carry you.
Yes, don't mind me. I just remembered some stuff from last night.
Oh yes.
I need to talk to Z-Man about this. Mind if we drop by his place first?
Stuff.
Shouldn't we call him to let him know? It's still pretty early, but we'd probably arrive there around noon. Also, what do you mean about this? Is Zach?
Stuff.
He was also there when I opened the letter, right? He read it too.
Stuffing, stuff.
I'm sure he's fine, but it wouldn't hurt to check on him. To make sure. See if he'll say the same things you told me yesterday.
If he's also being seen seeing things, if it's also the same woman I saw last night.
I'm not saying there's really a curse yet, but we have to look at this from every possible angle. And don't worry, he won't mind. He's probably just watching TV right now. Let's go.
Let's go make the headlines.
Okay, but speak up if you're not feeling well. You really look like you're choking on something.
I'm choking on the truth.
You didn't have to do this for me in the first place.
You know it's not as simple as that.
We head down on my car in record time. Not with a single second wasted to hit the road and drive to Zach's place. If any one of us, other than Isabel, who knows anything about what's going on, who can help that sort of muddled mess my mind is in? It's got to be him. He listened to her. Hey, Zachary's apartment. My word, that was almost a full hour at that apartment scene. Zach's the kind who prefers to laze around his apartment on a weekend, especially after having a busy week like the last one. The big guy's nowhere in sight, though when I arrive in his unit, figures. People just seem to be where they should be when I need him. Looking around, I see no sign where he might have gone to. He usually leaves a note on his fridge if he's out of the day, just in case someone drops by. If there isn't one, he probably just went out for a quick walk. I hope. Maybe he ran out of eggs or something and wanted to buy some. He is out of eggs, after all. Never underestimate those eggs.
Ash, should you be rummaging around? It's bad enough we went in here without asking for his permission.
Chill, I'm just looking.
Actually, I could also go to the pie right now, and Zach's fridge is next to empty, save for a few leftovers. All I can do is sigh as I close behind me.
If you see me take anything, feel free to call the police.
Isabel is quick to shoot me a sharp glare, and another chuckle slips from me, despite the unease in my stomach. But the cheer only lasts a few more seconds rather, mostly because she hasn't been in the mood of any sort of friendly banter. It's the silence that's telling, and a quiet Isabella? That's usually the first recipe for an incoming storm.
Do you always do this whenever you visit another person's house? Because I have a lot of questions about your methods.
Ashton might make a good Santa Claus, or not.
Just with Zach.
I'm still worried for our friend, of course, and despite what's bothering Isabella, she's anxious too. She's been standing by the doorway a good few minutes now, since we entered Zach's place. In fact, doesn't seem to know what to do with herself. But much as I wanted to put her at ease, her nervous tics are starting to get to me. The manner in which she makes herself smaller, the way she fidgets with her hands, clasping them one moment and unfurling in the next. It's distracting enough that I want to ask what's wrong. I'll doubt she'll give me a straight answer, though, and the best I can do is help her temper it.
You don't have to hang around the door. You might be here for a while. You can sit down.
She hesitates for a second, but eventually takes the empty seat by Zach's study table.
Are we going to look for him?
Sure, we can, but where are we going to start? I could think of a few places he might be, but Luxburn's a big city. I don't want to miss the big guy if we leave, and
I trail off, making a vague gesture in the general direction of Zach's bed. The messy bed suggests he was in a hurry, but he didn't bother to fold the sheets or pick up his phone for that matter. His cell phone's been left behind as well. Another odd thing, when he has made it a habit to never leave it behind in case a client calls.
at least the locked door points to the fact that it wasn't a forced exit.
That seems to reassure her, but not so much. Understandable, anything might happen. In hindsight, I shouldn't have left Rebecca alone either. We'll have to check on her later. In the meantime, Zach, and with no other clue where he is and no other way to contact him, we have no choice but to wait. Sure, I could give the room another thorough run-through, but I don't think Zach would appreciate me upending his place. Isabella won't let me do that, either. Besides... Oh boy, I haven't eaten anything. Yet. Well, I've just had my lunch after playing this. Anything to distract myself, so that I won't charge head first because of whatever paranoid scheme that comes to mind. Isabella's with me. I can't be reckless. Ooh, crisps. So instead, I set myself on Zach's old couch on the television. Isabella's silence may not be too heavy. So Zach's outside doing things, whilst Ashton is sitting inside and eating. He's eating his own words by now. Wait, that sheep, was that the symbol of the company who made this game? The screen lights up, right as some awful noontime drama starts staring at Channel 9. Nothing like sitting in front of a television with a mindless drone running in the background to waste away the time. And waste it away we do. Wow, they waste a lot of time doing the investigation. The afternoon has hit its last few hours. No, it's not. At least, assuming that clock isn't broken. When movement comes from the other side of the door and Zach's heavy treads break the monotonous drivel from the TV. Zach! Hey! Hello, Zach! Hello, Zach! What? Did he just run a marathon?
Sup, Z-Man?
Hey, Zach. Sorry we just barged in here. Ash was...
Relax. Z-Man gave me a copy of the key himself.
Light as my the Z-Man? The person who is in charge of you, he's giving you the odd look. The Z-Man.
Only after you broke the 13th one. I can't keep replacing them every time you think it'd be a good idea to break into my apartment. And stop calling me Z-Man!
Oh, he's the Z-Man. Ah. I was getting some G-Man vibes from Half-Life, yeah.
I didn't break anything this time.
Ash, just because I gave you a key doesn't mean you can just stroll in here whenever you want to.
I thought Z-Man was some, like, mysterious worker in his police force. But no, the Z-Man is literally Zach. I should have seen that coming.
And hey, is that my...
It's scary how the friendly banter and easy smile comes naturally. I do it, even without thinking, and that speaks volumes on how comfortable I am around him. That's nice, isn't it? What makes me afraid of it, however, is the time when a time might come where I might just do these without any meaning to and offend him in some way. The friendship we might have come to be closer than most I've shared with others, but there are boundaries you can't cross with the other's permission. Zach's been respectful of that so far, neither asking about my parents or what happened to them. Me? I bet he'd say, not so much. And also this easy banter, which makes me wish we could just stay like this. No worries, no problems, just potato chips, hot potatoes with cheese, and the debate on whether or not I deserve them. But as usual, something always cut moments like this short.
Of course he eats all of it. You know, I was saving that for the weekend. Did you at least share some with Bella?
Did you, Ashton?
Don't worry about it. I'm good, Zach.
Aw, she's so sweet.
Really? It's free food, you know? What was that you usually say? You don't say no to free food? What happened?
What happened indeed?
No, I'm just not hungry.
Huh. Although her tone forces him into a double take, Zach doesn't push it. The question's all too clear in his eyes when he glances my way, though. I really wish I could answer him, despite my best efforts. Isabella's been unforthcoming as well. What am I supposed to do? I can't just force her to speak, can I? She's not a criminal to interrogate. She's a friend, for Pete's sakes. It's a good thing Zach has a better handle of this situation than I. And soon enough, he changes the subject. Where it leads to isn't necessarily the better topic, however.
Aye. But if you want something, just say so. I've got a fully restocked pantry right here at your disposal. Still not a 5-star level thing, but for an empty stomach, it'd do. Just say the word.
Thanks, Zach.
The word! Or
Food is not really what we came here for.
what about Grace? Anyway,
Ash, he's the one who...
she stumbles into one of the uncertain silences again before glancing my way. There's a plea in there for me to take the lead in this. Where do you start? The mansion? The strange things we've been seeing? The letter? Even I am afraid of what he might say. I can't even believe I'm considering taking a deeper look into this whole thing in the first place, but here I am.
Please don't tell me something happened again.
No, nothing. None so far. And we're keeping it that way as much as possible.
Ash, it's not that easy. This isn't some...
We don't know that. Let me...
Sometimes I amaze myself how much I tried for her. But what else can I offer? I was the first one who brushed her off. We've all been giving our warnings that day, in that desperate pleading tone of hers, and I just stood there, judging her. This. Oh, whoops. This is the least I can do. Perhaps even to make up for all the other times I've hurt her. I'm just gonna save it here. Yeah.
Let me look at this first, okay? I agreed to help, but you've got to let me handle things from now on.
From
I already told you everything.
There must be something we're not seeing in this just yet. We'll sort this out, but no more silly ideas and running around on your own. You're making people worry more than necessary. Becca, especially.
So everything's fine.
Depends on who you're asking. How are things with you? Anything odd?
Good, I guess. Admittedly, how things went down at the housewarming party last night threw me off a bit.
I'm not asking about that. Remember the letter thing Isabella's been yapping on about? I'm asking about that kind of odd.
As suspected, Zack starts to look at me like I've grown a second head. Yeah, I would too if there was ever a universe where I was standing in front of myself. Because even as a child, I never believed in ghost stories. The Lucky Charms, mystical objects from my mother, have been stored away or given as paltry gifts for those who would appreciate them more.
Well, the dreams, they're a lot worse than usual.
Oh dear, I'm sorry to hear that, Zack.
There's a woman now, ever since we saw that letter.
Oh!
I don't know if it's the same one Isabella talked about. Maybe it is, maybe it ain't.
Either way, it was on the ceiling there.
I really don't want to go back to sleep sometimes. Last night was the worst.
Oh yeah! Yeah, the ghost pounced on us. And it was a really scary minute ago trying to take a photo of the frickin' ghost doing a jump scare, which I refuse to do. Thank you.
Anyway, why are you asking about this?
Rose's death isn't just a coincidence, Zack. It may have something to do with... I may have...
Coincidence? I think not!
Wait, stop right there for a sec. Bella, I thought you ain't buying this stuff, Ash. Just the other day, you said the exact same thing.
I was at first. Just to see if there was any other way of explaining it, but there isn't. The evidence is, whether we like it or not, is leaning towards the supernatural. Deal with it. Granted, I haven't eliminated every single possibility here yet. What else is there to go off on from here? The worried look Zack shoots my way doesn't help one bit. Somehow everyone's suddenly worried about me. It's not like I'm pulling this out of my arse.
I still don't, but even Rebecca, out of all people, claims there's something.
Yeah, that's 3 people now. Zack, Isabella, Rebecca. Flipping Rebecca, of all people, you know, if you look into the profiles. She, of all people, saw this strange ghost lady. You know, if you have multiple witnesses, that makes the case more credible.
Whatever this is, someone has got to look into it. Everything about this screams shady.
And that's what Ashton's here for. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this. Now let the detective do the work. Before we play as the snobby rich man, and alongside Isabella's warnings, what's occurring around Zack? What's happening around Luxburn since Isabella found the letter?
Have you two seen the news this morning?
Zack's puzzled expression is enough answer. Of course he hasn't. Another night, another nightmare. The guy most likely went out as soon as he got to bed to shake the images off. The memories have never left him. Isabella, though?
I haven't, actually. Mama Mama called, and I was busy.
You saw the ghost in the office. That could easily mean anything. Did her Kuya, her older brother, end up in jail again? She's had to bail him out numerous times in the past. Though all that did was piss her off, not sap out any ounce of cheer in her. Or is it that the other brother, the younger one who keeps insisting that he'll quit school or he could come home? Was that 2 years ago? It couldn't have been her father, right? If it was 2 years ago, according to this. With the mentioned sale. So what is it then?
No problem. It should be in the afternoon news as well.
Whatever's bugging her, I doubt it's something meant for casual discussion. Else she wouldn't have mentioned it sooner. Tucking my curiosity for later, I take the remote and begin cycling through the channels. A distraction. Not a good one, I admit, but it's definitely better than leaving her to brood. Eventually, I find one doing a recap of this morning's reports. And there it is. Oh man. The poor guy is unidentifiable with how badly his body's been burnt. Murder via arson. Did he read the letter? That's the logical explanation it would if I was the officer looking into it. Except they couldn't find the source of the fire. The fire didn't even spread.
Found dead in the early hours of the morning today.
No spreading fire.
The fire was contained within the room and no other tenants were harmed, according to Luxbourne police.
They're going to consider spontaneous human combustion soon enough, if they don't find anything else. But what's important for everyone to note is the state of the room. Yeah, internal combustion. That could be likely, but at some point, you just can't give in to, chance off the gaps arguments.
A similar writing was found in another victim's room from last week's incident. Both were employees of Briar Realty Corporation. LBN has reached out to the...
Like what happened to Cooper. Heck, I wonder how many other deaths like this that I've missed while I've been looking into Right. The LPD's already thinking it's a serial killer at this point. How long until they consult me with the London Metropolitan? I'm not sure. The Anselm Butcher has always been an enigma, even to the people within the city. Gone for a few years, then in the next, one body after another is found. Merely handling the case has apparently driven the chief inspector insane years ago. He never did find out who committed those murders. Maybe now this time.
This is because of that thing, isn't it? I did this somehow.
Aye, Isabella, you're not entirely to blame here. Her words all come out like a whisper, but each syllable lingers in the air, heavy with her guilt. In the thick tension of the room, they strike harsher than any of the things we've said. She didn't intend for a ghost to invade us. However, she also had to know that she isn't the only one on this. No one has asked her to take this upon herself. Rebecca won't. Zach won't. I sure won't.
It ain't too late. We can still fix this. There's 3 of us here.
Yeah, exactly. My word, this is just a lot of laying back as the story goes. My. We can do this.
4 if you count Rebecca.
No, she's staying away from this. I don't want to involve her in this any more than I already have. Both of you as well.
I already said it. That's completely out of the question. Stop asking.
Encouragements aside, this is still a whole flipping mess, and we're in it blind. The only way to make it worse is if we start running around like a bunch of headless chickens. But I have a concrete plan now, I think. Maybe Isabella's right. Maybe we should dig deeper into BRC itself. Maybe we are looking at it the wrong way. However, my suspicions are minor at the moment. The details are something Zach doesn't need to know until I have something to show. It's enough that he's aware that I have an idea in mind. But this part Z-Man here doesn't push it, and nothing but a heavy silence leads our departure hours later. Seriously, Zach would probably make a more responsible officer than me if he had the heart to join the force. We would certainly use more kind people like him. We could all use kind people like Zach. But as good as that thought is, I push it all back inside my mind, as Isabel and I head for the car. Tonight, I can't stay distracted. Except for a few half-hearted attempts to get some kind of reaction from Isabella. The drive to BRC is a quiet, awkward affair. More so the hour-long wait for nightfall. Even with only two of us, the place is rife with tense energy, only a matter of minutes now. But the ticking seconds don't take away the edge. The fifth time I reach out and fiddle with the radio, adjusting and turning the knobs with no real purpose. It's a nervous quirk I developed and never bothered to correct during stakeouts. Something to keep my mind occupied during long nights. What else is there for me to do? The person I usually count on for casual out-of-the-blue chat refuses my attempts at starting one.
Ash, out with it!
The way she quickly falters into silence after, in spite of her tone, which makes me doubt if she really means everything she's telling me right now. She hasn't even glanced my way since we arrived.
Having second thoughts? You can still back out if you want.
We're just going to my office. Why should I?
Dunno. You can get in trouble, maybe. This isn't exactly legal.
Scope BRC out, see if the real estate company has any more information that may be of help. Find things about Cooper and the other agents assigned to the Ermengarde mansion. Hopefully the ghost won't spook us this time. According to Isabella, it's the last property the victims have worked on. Sure, I could also check the station for full reports. That's the easy, semi-legal way. But I sure don't want to bump into Chief right now. The guy at the precinct will definitely throw me out of these orders as soon as they see me. Not that my plan right now is any better, I'm just breaking into a different place, more or less, with a civilian to boot. The latter still doesn't sit well with me. It never will, especially if this might put her in a very tricky position afterwards. She's been very careful when it comes to her work, almost a model employee, as people would say. Why is she throwing a caution to the wind now?
I'm not an employee here. I'm not supposed to be looking for any confidential stuff. Only people like you are privy to.
If you mentioned earlier that this is your plan, I might have had enough time to think about it. I already promised to help if you need access to those files. I didn't think you'd want to see them this soon and in this way. Besides, the same goes for you, right? You were taken off your case. Won't you get in trouble with your boss?
Honestly, it's a toss-up between breaking into her office or into the Wright's mansion. As it stands, I'll have an easier time getting in here first. After all, why would someone want to break into a realty company, especially one that's been newly purchased? Been here many times before anyway, as a few casual visits when I wanted to bug Scaredy Cat. Over the years, I have more or less grown familiar with the security setup and how badly staffed they are. Plus, it's an old building, and if the bankruptcy rumors are true, it must mean their access protocols might also be outdated.
Still, I can do this on my own, you know.
I'll do it
Really?
my
How are you
way!
even planning to get into our office without an access card? Please explain.
Borrow yours?
Well, I was going to pry open the card reader and use a gecko.
You're a hopeless case. I really want to know why no one has locked you up yet.
Because I work for the people who lock people up, yes.
Yeah, you're helping me with this. Willingly. I don't think that'll sit well with the Philippine embassy either. Chances are you'll probably get deported the minute they find out.
Philippines. Low blow, I know. But it's worth a shot. When she can still turn my back. It's not like I don't have any means to get into that place. Wait a second. Filipina. Ah, yes, of course she's a Filipino. I've heard that the Filipinos do have that sort of Catholic lifestyle in the Philippines. Of course, that's something I probably forgot. That's a pleasant little addition. With or without her, I have a way.
At least I have a reason to be snooping about. My badge and rank can speak for me in case things go south. You?
For a passing second, it seems to work. A hint of panic and hesitation flashes across her features when she looks at me with searching eyes. Then, unexpectedly, it dissolves, not behind the fear I'm anticipating, but underneath something sharp and searing. I'm not sure what she sees exactly, or what she's hoping to find in the sort, while she holds my gaze. Anyway, All of it merely goes unspoken, and no longer than a minute later, she simply averts her attention back to the window, training it once again for some point outside.
Isabella, please, now's not the time.
It's too late for that, Ash. Give it a rest.
An appeal spoken in a voice too harsh coming from her, perhaps unintentional, perhaps one that's already too exhausted for everything going on lately. It's hard not to concede when she takes on that tone, and soon, despite myself, I sigh, tucking away every concern I've been lugging around in favor of trusting her on this. According to her, the same confidence she has implicitly given me all this time.
Alright, okay, if that's what you want. And don't worry, I didn't mean what I said earlier. I won't let anything happen to you.
Aww. Everything I do, I
Just
do it
get this
for
over
you.
with, okay? Everyone should be out of the office by now.
Somehow, the uncertainty of her posture makes me wonder if she intended it as some kind of comforting gesture. Whether it's for me or for her, she doesn't let me find out. Without saying another word, she exits the car, while I'm still scrambling and chasing after her. She's already at the side entrance, hand raised and the card reader beside it, and another poised to push the door open when I catch up to her. Whatever doubt there has been in her face a while ago, it's gone. Seeing her like this makes it easier to believe my worries are unfounded, that things might go smoothly this time.
And where do you think you kids are going? It's late. Most offices in this building have already closed up shop for the weekend.
The bloke seems friendly enough, though one can't really tell from his voice alone. He might be the wary sort, for all I know. Keeping an unconcerned face and aloof air won't hurt until I've figured out how to wiggle us out of this situation.
Just come back on Monday if you have important business.
But from the way Isabella's face brightens up, it looks as though getting through won't be too much of a problem. He's probably been working here for a few months already then. Maybe around 4 to 6 months max. Otherwise, he would have recognized Isabella from me. Or me, rather, at first glance. I haven't shown my face here since I've been assigned to the firm case a year ago. In the first place, none of their security officers ever lasted a year in service. The longest was around 7.5. I'll give this guy around that before he gets fired or finds a better paying job. For the moment, his too friendly attitude is almost a gift.
Hey, Seb!
Oh, look who we have here. Been a few days since I last saw that ponytail in here, Santiago?
Close enough!
Wait, don't tell me yet. I'll get it right this time.
This is the cheeriest we've seen her so far.
Sanchez!
You were closer the first time?
Drat. I swear it is on the tip of my tongue. I just need a hint to remember.
I take it back. This geezer's not going to last past this month. He can't even remember a regular employee's name.
Alrighty, I'm sure of it this time. Centillon?
Still a few ways off, Seb.
Isabella, we don't have all night.
No, just let me handle this. Sorry, Seb. Some other time. We're in a bit of a hurry. I just need to get a few things from my cubicle. Important work stuff, you know? Is it okay if we drop upstairs for a sec?
Oh, absolutely. No, go right ahead. As long as you have your access card with you, we're good. Not sure if I'm allowed to let your boyfriend in, though.
Ooh!
Who, me?
Wide eyes.
My what?
Your boyfriend. The guy with you. Isn't he?
Assumptions. It's a fair observation, if I do say so myself. Needless to say, the silence that descends is both uncomfortable and terribly awkward. Although the latter is probably coming mostly from me, because in the next second Isabella laughs. Lighter than the ones I've heard from her lately. A comforting sound, really, after seeing her in such a dour mood since this morning. Even as all of this subsides into mere chuckles sooner than I'd like. It's comforting to see that I'm at least partially responsible for it, despite my poor heart being beaten into a sorry pulp.
Oh. Oh, no! No. He's definitely not my boyfriend.
Yeah, they get into fights. She might as well have set it on fire and reduced it to dust. While she's at it, frankly, the numbers of no's in that sentence alone is a bit too much. As for me, one would have been enough to get the message across. Did she all really have to put it that way?
That's impossible! Stop being funny, Seb. I'll go on ahead, okay?
She quickly shuffles inside with nothing more than a small wave, leaving behind an even more awkward atmosphere for me to wade through. It would have been bearable if I hadn't have to suffer through a stranger's amusement. Alas, woe is me.
Not the boyfriend, but close to it, huh?
Mind your own business.
Kids these days. Good to see her up and about, though. I thought for sure she'd up and disappear like the others.
Excuse me?
You know, stuff in the news.
You mean what happened with Rose Cooper?
If I'm going to be stuck here for a while with him, might as well try to gather as much intelligence as I can. He may just be a guard, someone with no real authority, but most of the time, people like him are the ones who know more than they let on.
Yeah, but even before that, we've got a couple of good blokes we never saw again.
Really? Those guys could have just resigned for all you know.
No, I only catch tidbits of stuff from over here. Oh, seriously, I heard the branch is getting flushed soon, but that's no excuse for anarchy. Figures why Boss Man's been in an awful temper these past months.
They managed to strike a good deal with the mansion in Anselm, right? That didn't do the trick?
Didn't seem like it. The bloke shouting like no tomorrow again. Wasn't very pleased when Gurley called and asked for another leave yesterday afternoon.
Gurley? Isabella?
It's not too surprising, considering she's already been gone for 3 days. Now she's asking for another? Not that it's a bad thing, it's within her rights as an employee, but Isabella rarely uses her work leaves.
Yeah, poor lassie, if you ask me. She found him a buyer for that mansion after all. The least you could do is be considerate to her after a family member's passing.
Wait, what?
The rumors. BRC. Rose Cooper. Missing in action employees. All of it ceases to matter in that instant. Almost on instinct, my eyes zero in on the intercom speaker, as if staring daggers at it will show me the man behind the voice so I can see the truth in his face myself.
Oh, you don't know?
No, what?
Nothing. I shouldn't be the one you're asking, and,
Come on, spill the beans!
you know, things might get a bit boring here. No one really wants to hear what a poor old guard wants to say.
Oh yes, we do.
Why don't you just go after her? As long as you're not looking to create trouble for me, it won't be a problem. You aren't here for that, right?
He's lucky I'm not here to hurt anyone. If I were someone with ill intentions, he might not be smiling at the end of the day.
Well, no, but...
I'll go and unlock that side entrance for you then. Just don't forget to turn off the lights before you both leave, okay?
Hey, wait a second, what do you mean by...
He cuts off the connection before I can finish, and the rest of my question dies in my throat. Soon the latch clicks, and the side door swings open. The Seb, stout man, wearing a uniform still too loose for him, waves me over from the gap before he disappears behind his station again. Just my luck. Here I thought I'm going to have to count on whatever Isabella brings with her. Although, no matter how much I want to feel happy, something else has taken a firm seat in the forefront of my mind. Is that why she's been acting not like herself today? Since when? Of course, as I step into the building, I try to push all those questions as far down as I can. I need to focus. Work is work. But if what I've heard is exactly what I think it is, if it's a sign of things to come, honestly, I don't feel too good about that. Oh, balls. Oh, man. I've seen the adverts for the game. There's a really scary elevator minigame involving the ghost. Oh, man. I don't think I'm looking forward to that as such. But either way, it's gonna lead to this, and then that, and multiple paths. I'm not going up there. This is gonna be quite a... Oh my goodness gracious, great. This is a long one. Wait a minute. Wait. Okay, then there's a choice that could lead to... Oh my goodness gracious gravy, multiple ones. This is kind of like an enigma at times. Must have been a lot of intellectual thinking going into all the choices in this game. Like some kind of music video when I make it skim past. Wow, this is going in all sorts of bizarre directions. Alright, alright, alright. This is a long one. Seb has been kind enough to switch the guest elevator's power on, just as I'm about to head to the fire exit stairs. Okay, that makes more sense than just dragging it along. Which is a welcome relief. I'm an active guy, but stairs? I don't want to tire it out too quickly, in case things get ugly. There probably won't be any trouble with the building this quiet, but you never know. I swear the whole place definitely feels eerie this time of night. Yeah, that happens. But until I've confirmed anything, those are still just stories. Worse things can happen, no need to scare myself. Staying calm means fewer mistakes.
I sure am fucking gutsy, especially with what I'm doing.
I'm breaking a lot of laws here. I'm also putting Isabella in a lot of risk. Which floor is she in? Is she, the floor that she's in, okay. Best thing that can come out of this tale is that Isabella's right all along. Worst case scenario? 1. Someone finds out Isabella's involvement in this and her boss fires her. 2. I find evidence that would implicate BRC or Luke Wright in a crime, and my meddling, if I'm not careful enough, makes it inadmissible in court. Though I'll be honest, I strongly prefer losing my job or facing Wright over some spirit or ghost or wherever it is. Oh man. I could always work around the problems with the former. Isabella could also find a better job. BRC never did pay her properly despite their efforts. But fighting off a phantom? How does one even do that? Do guns even work with them? Well, if they're like supernaturally powered guns or if you hire the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, not going to happen.
We'll see about that. But tonight, I'm here to fix things. If I do it without leaving a trail, all the better. Good thing that's what I'm good at. Alright, here we are. What I'll probably never be good at is finding the proper words when a sitch calls for it. What's the sitch? Beep, beep, beep. But seeing Isabella's small form beyond those doors, how she pushes through despite carrying an entirely different burden this time, how she's pretending as if everything's normal, it's difficult not to try. People who have never looked beyond their smiles will never know. You will never understand. Heck, even Rebecca's probably not yet aware of this. I get it. We have other problems at hand. I've done the same thing plenty of times, to protect myself, after all. But it's all in her eyes once she glances up at the few light raps I give the door. She wastes no time leaving the mess of papers on the table and opening it for me. Although even her confusion, as she takes my presence, barely hides it.
Seb, let you in?
The rough edge in her voice rings a whole different tune, now that I'm aware of why. But knowing is different from hearing it straight from her. I can't simply bring this up, can I? It's not a topic suited for casual conversation, and I doubt she wants to talk to me about it. As much as I want to help, there's a distance between us I'll never be able to cross, one that wouldn't even be there if it wasn't for me. Perhaps, if I had been more honest years ago and less of a coward, I might have been able to. Figures, I couldn't even do that for the one person I keep telling myself that I care deeply about.
What can I say? I'm a very charming person.
To a rock, maybe.
You're referring to Dwayne Johnson? Yeah, you see, you like my joke. And it's enough for me, it is. Because even without words, there's comfort. And now find comfort in my pain, the letter Hey!
Ugh, get over yourself.
Ah!
Hey now, I deserve some slack here. Today's supposed to be my day off, and yet here I am helping you out.
Helping. By standing at the door.
Yup.
Well, you're not exactly letting me in.
Despite what she says, she moves to block me when I try to enter. She mustn't have expected this. The second we walked up the building's entrance and counted on the night shift guard to bar me from the place, it's reassuring to know she's somehow worried about me, although it's a bit misplaced at the moment. Besides, her concerns aside, I really can't let her get into the thick of things without me, not with all the problems on her plate right now.
Isabella!
Seriously, Ash. Seth might get in trouble for this. You might get in even bigger trouble with your boss.
And you're not? We've already talked about this back at Zach's. It's out of the question.
At least do it for Zach, please. He's a really nice guy. With the way things are going here, he's...
On that, I agree with her. Seb's not much of a bad fellow. Might be a little careless with his job and talks too much, but he means well. I'd hate to see the guy leave here with a bad record, in case something goes wrong. However, the anxious look she shoots back at the table behind her brings an even bigger worry.
Did you find something? Aside from what you told me about yesterday?
Not yet. I'm not sure. I haven't started going through the files we have in the records room. Just the ones they handed to me in Rose.
Let me see.
Wait, Ash!
Isabella, I already promised you that no one's going to get in trouble after we're done here, even Sam. I'll make sure we leave the place clean.
Her hesitation's still there. A split second of indecision as she tries to form an argument. Eventually, when nothing comes to mind, she steps aside.
Okay, but we can't take the original files out of this office. Clear? Not even a single sheet. We'll just have to make a copy.
Don't worry, that's the plan.
It appears to reassure her. A nod, then shortly, she gestures for me to follow. Passing the sea of cubicles, I can't help but take in everything in their office. A force of habit for the most part. As far as I know, VRC Luxburn used to own this whole building. Offices in several floors, once upon a time, when real estate is still a lucrative business for the company on this side of the country. Then competition showed up, and suddenly everything is not so good anymore. It only got worse by the years went by, so according to the rumors, now the branch is just this floor, despite what the huge sign on the building's facade says. And frankly, it's not too hard to believe when one looks at the state of this room right now. A number of desks have been cleared out. Perhaps personal mementos are scarce if the employees have gone on an exodus. That will be the downsizing, probably. Still worrisome, though. Of course, I shake away all this when Isabella starts handing me the papers she's been looking through. Focus, Frey. Focus. There's no point in whining or dwelling any longer on it. That's why we're here in the first place. To find out what the real deal is the old-fashioned way. Isabella's presence is a whole other blessing, too. I couldn't imagine how long this would take if I pushed going in here alone.
Is this everything? Where are the documents you mentioned?
Still locked up in the records room. Do you need them now?
Bring them here. Everything that has to do with the mansion sale. Even those who worked on it during the renovations. The cleanup. Everything.
Could you at least say please?
Including your mandatory sign-in sheets.
It's an odd thing to bring up, but at least it clicks a laugh from her before she heads up for the records room. She remembers. And no matter how weak the sound of it is from her usual ones, it's a welcome thing to hear. It reminds me of the Isabella I know still in there. She returns minutes later with a thick stack of folders and binders. Aha, Avantgarde Mansion. Not an easy task, but in fact Isabella does most of the work, sorting the contracts, the employee list, and stuff we won't need in a neat pile. Just the files for the restoration alone makes for a stack of papers. That's an inch thick. Third-party service. Providers hired by the masonry, radiators, work wooding, plasterwork, slate roofing, and a whole bunch of other things are well documented. Every single contractor who worked on the project were listed individually, even if, they were just there to do the plumbing. It's a high profile, and high-cost estate, alright. But with that scope comes the loopholes. It means plenty of room to hide something in if there's something fishy going on. All I have to do is find a pattern, and it doesn't take long. Upon closer glance, despite the original owners shouldering the renovation costs, it'll be surprising if they've managed to break even on the Ermengarde mansion. What with the additional expenses of the open house, the commission of their agents, and other overhead fees. At one point, the negotiations to get listed under BRC's name almost broke down too. Some disagreement about the listing price. The owners wanted to get rid of it as quickly as possible. But this, plus the rumor of the branch closing, BRC Luxembourg really is in the red.
No wonder the final sale happened as fast as it did. Did you know about this?
No, they took it off our hands after I submitted the final documents for the sale. I didn't even know until I read this. I'm not sure if Rose did. I've only been given the key to the records room after she... Anyway, my point is, they've kept all the files from me. Rose was the one who compiled everything from our side. And even then, she was probably not aware of this. There's only so much they let us know. After that, they just told us to wait for our commission, and that the legal team would handle the rest. The rumors are true. Huh.
Seems so.
Sheesh. This place is just unlucky, forgive me if sheesh is a dirty word there, going bankrupt while the rest of this is happening. But this isn't what we're looking for. What we need to do is the who. The people aside from Isabella and Cooper involved in this business in the mansion, and the how they are now. We can't do much with the outside contractors. They won't be on file. The employee list, on the other hand, even with 2 people working through the pile, the whole task still takes quite a while. It's a quarter of an hour later when we put down the papers with a sigh and move on to the clients upon Isabella's insistence. For that, the sign-in form from the open house comes in handy. Alright, sign-in form, look right. Richard Frank, Josiah Ashley, Styles, Madeline, something that gives me a laugh when I spy the fake name I wrote on one of the sheets.
Why'd I even pick this name? It sounds so lame.
Ashley. Ashley. That is quite funny, actually.
What name?
Nothing important. Just focus on those papers you have. We need to finish this soon, before Seb suspects anything.
He snatches the paper away before the thought of hiding it occurs to me. Not that there's much secret in it. Isabella found me that afternoon anyway, but still. I've been careless that day, tailing Luke Wright without confirming where they were headed off to. While the butler's terribly efficient in keeping the Wright's engagements from the public eye, there are older ways, if only I'd given in the time of day. In retrospect, I've been too eager, too impatient to find somebody that'll crack the case and be done with it. Maybe my failure goes as far back as the day as the open house, not during the party last night.
Yeah, well, I was pressed for time.
Seriously? Ashley? Were you even trying?
Ashley. Fabulous detective name.
Oh, come on. You didn't even notice I was the one who wrote it down.
Of course I wouldn't. Only an idiot would use his real name.
It worked, though. Admit it. It's genius. Who would have thought, huh?
Yeah, who would have thought that Ashley would be associated with the emo Asian African guy. Did I say African? She responds with a roll in her eyes, then drops the matter entirely by shoving the paper back to my hands. We collapse back to our respective tasks afterwards, wordlessly skimming through everything, read, set aside, get another one. Looking back at the sign-in sheet, I spot Luke Wright and Hannah Wright listed up top. Aha! Not that I don't know about them already, of course, but scanning through the list, a name immediately comes to my attention.
Madeline Williams.
Something wrong?
Huh? No, just that I remember this girl listed here.
She frowns, moves her seat closer, and takes careful read at this sheet. There's a long moment before she speaks up again, but from the way she tenses, she appears to be expecting the worst already.
What about her?
She was with me. In the group following Cooper, when we toured the upstairs part of the mansion, I mean. Rather loud one, especially when we took a peek into the attic. Kept talking about the ghost stories the whole tour.
And do you think she's...
She was reported missing 3 days after.
Dun dun dun. There was a ruckus of the precinct the day their family filed it. Threats were naturally given at the lack of progress days later. Desperate ones. Her family's willing to shell out all the cash they have just to find her. To no avail, unfortunately. Officer Benjamin has been in a bad mood ever since he spoke with them. But what can he do? What can we do? He's tied. We're all tied. There's only so much we're able to do. And everything that has been shoved into our hands recently.
She still hasn't been found. It's already been a week.
Isabella makes no further comment aside from a nod. Instead, she sits back on a chair with a distant look in her eyes, her hands balling to a fist as she struggles with her frustration? Or maybe it's anger? But the moment doesn't last too long. Soon her grip loosens as she folds her hands back on her lap. Her expression, however, it's one I've seen too many times in the mirror. What does one say to a person burdened not by one loss, but many? Who carries it in her shoulders like a badge of shame? I've yet to find the answer for that myself. Until then, the only way is forward. Press on to see where our attempts at fixing our mistakes might lead us. And despite our own doubts, or my own doubts rather, a glimpse of that look in her face is enough reason for me. I can't just give up. There's too much at stake, too much to lose. With a renewed focus, I continue. On the third and last sheet, I spot another one. Beatrice Wilde. One I recall from newspaper obituaries. Died of a heart attack. A letter of correspondence expressing condolences to her family confirms as much in her files. Passed away at age 74 in her sleep.
She's at that age. It certainly could have been a natural death.
Right? I'd like to believe so, but 3 more letters turn up when I rummage through the stack, and it leaves nothing more than foreboding feeling in me. They're all addressed to families of clients who have passed away in the past week. Regardless, those go into the pile of things worth looking into after our visit here, along with William's information sheet. There are just so many names, so many faces. Each one I've seen that day, and here I am wondering if they're all right. It isn't a selfless thought that brings the question to mind. Rather, the logic that if more of them are still alive, the more people I can choose to question. Nothing's concrete yet, of course. There are just speculations, but we're making progress. Once done with the signing sheets, I stash it along with the growing pile to my left, and pull out as many as the other documents Isabella has already prepared for me. We're working through the employees' lists now, those who have been assigned to the mansion, because if Isabella wants to be believed, if what she's seen and what happened to Rose Cooper is because of that letter, I need to know everyone who has possibly read it aside from the 3 of us. If they've been noticing strange things too. For all I know, these may have been a terrible coincidence, although the thought of that starts to diminish as we dig into BRC's company files. 50 minutes later, the stack close to my elbow has risen from 5 to 21 different dossiers. Client and employee documentation, people who have either visited the open house or worked on the property in some capacity since the letter's discovery. Turns out, there were 2 more employees who handled the mansion directly aside from Cooper and Isabella. Christian Sy, the realist specialist, and Mark Julius Jean Mary, the estate appraiser.
This C guy, he was in custody just the other day.
Really? Sir John has been looking for him. He stopped reporting to work a few weeks ago. Are you sure it's the same person?
Yep, this is him. Folks at the precinct said they went to his house after a noise complaint. They found him just acting all crazy. Had to take him in when he started getting violent. He kept screaming about a woman.
A woman? Oh, so he's seen her too. Immediately she stiffens. I don't want to bring it up or imply a connection to Isabella's story, but that is exactly what happened.
It was driving the guards mad, but he didn't last too long in there. A few hours in, and he just started bashing his own head against the wall. And, well, it was messy, to say the least.
Ew. Either that, or it was the ghost that was bashing his head in, or maybe he was so frightened he bashed himself to death.
Oh, no. We had no idea. Is he okay? HR just marked him as AWOL because none of their calls would get through.
He's in the hospital right now. I heard they're putting him into a psychiatric ward as soon as he recovers. He's still a bit unstable.
Oh, he's still alive! Woo! Jean Mary, on the other hand, his employee notes his date of leaving, and even when his final payment has been given. Along with it, there's a letter to his family about the appraiser being found dead in the office. Communication is hush-hush, and there's mention of compensation if they don't talk about it in the media. Inspector Abigail has often scolded me for not reading the reports on a regular basis, but I try to keep up to date as much as I can. When I do, I make sure I'm aware of the gist of what's going on in my city. This never reached the people's ears of the health and safety executive.
Do you know about this guy?
One glance at her says everything. They've hidden it from the media. They've kept it from the police. It's not surprising this also be a secret from someone of Isabella's position in this company.
Rose was looking for him last week. We haven't heard anything from him either. Until now. They never mentioned this to us.
Business going under and someone dies while working here? Of course they want to keep that quiet. It's bad publicity. This whole thing is just getting freakier by the minute. Nevertheless, I hand the files for Isabel to make a copy of them.
The pages with their names, addresses, and contact numbers will do. We'll start with the ones who live within the city.
Alright! Sometimes there are things you really can't just brush off as a mere coincidence. In my line of work, once a pattern pops up, it's only right to be suspicious. Yeah, if there's a reoccurring pattern, you ought to be suspicious. And latch onto things. Like, for example, all these different people, there's a pattern of people seeing the ghost woman. Therefore, it's more likely that they really did see the ghost woman. And we can't let presuppositions, especially if it revolves around naturalism, don't let those get in the way. We must follow the evidence where it leads. Got it? Especially the thing with Sai. It hits too close to the stuff my own friends have been telling me.
All of this?
Oh yes. It's considerably thinner than the one she brought in. Yet somehow the way she hugs the folders close to herself makes it seem heavier. Like she's hanging onto it with the same manner one will latch onto it with your life. Assuming they're invisible in her arms right now.
Only the noteworthy ones.
Just use your imaginations, everybody. And those who might still be alive might. She doesn't need to know that.
We can't check the outside contractors, but the guys with a direct connection to BRC and the people who attended the open house should be enough.
Very good. Let's get printing.
We don't have time to see how everyone's doing, especially if what you said is true.
For a second, she appears about to argue, then quickly decides against it and hides it away before anyone can read the question in her face. Then, in a too abrupt motion, she turns towards the copier and gets to work. Soon only the machine's constant thrum fills the air around us, while I keep myself busy cleaning up the mess we've made. The lack of talk is awkward, to put it mildly, disturbing at worst. I've gotten so used to letting her just babble away, whether it's just the two of us. I could tell, however, she wants to do more. She wants to fix this mess herself, and that desire makes her antsy, rather. But at the same time, she's learning how not to be impulsive or stubborn, exactly as I've told her yesterday before agreeing to any of this. Or maybe these so-called changes have always been with her. Dire situations have always pushed people to change after all. Although seeing this happen in front of me only makes it difficult to find the proper things to say. In an atmosphere this tense and charged, what is left for us to talk about? Certainly not the news. What's worse is when you only realize all this in hindsight, right after you've already ran your mouth off.
You know, for a house your company seems to be in a hurry to sell, they still made quite a fortune out of it. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 6.
Should have put an extra whistle there.
Are you sure they're planning to give your entire share for this? This isn't a small amount, especially given the usual cut. And their accounting department isn't in the greatest shape either.
Even if they don't, it's not like someone still needs it.
There's the reason why people don't let me talk. Silence once again descends through the room, denser compared to the ones we've shared tonight. Behind me, I can still hear her movements, sharp, precise, while she feeds the originals to the machine. Then, with one last click, all of it stops. Her feet shuffles lightly against the floor. When she moves away, something creaks softly, probably under the table, as she settles her weight against its side. By this time, an apology is already at the tip of my tongue, but...
Belle,
Papa's gone, Ash.
Papa's gone? Within those scant few seconds, everything between us shifts as the gravity of her words sinks. Right then and there, something harsh and immovable rises between us. Death is something I'm familiar with. Almost a decade in the police force, and it's impossible not to be acquainted with it. But this is different from those dead bodies we examined in forensics. A far cry from the victims we found in a bad investigation. Those I could easily distance myself from. No emotional attachments. No need for pretenses. Yet somehow I still find myself grasping for things to tell her. Any words of comfort that'll dull the pain. Because even without looking at her, her grief feels palpable enough, her pain and immutable weight hanging over us. Oh man, that was a mouthful to get through. So gently I offer, tell me about him.
when?
Huh? When what?
I don't recall anything about her papa.
Your dad. I mean, when did you find out?
Oh, the dad, he was hospitalized, right? It's been a while since I've played this game. She doesn't answer. Not immediately, anyway. For a long moment, the hush simply stretches out before us, spanning across the seconds we let pass while we both simply stand there waiting. Eventually she exhales, lightly muted enough that I might have missed it, had I not been paying attention to her every single movement.
Yesterday. Around 3 in the afternoon there. Mama called. She told me he passed away in his sleep. And
Wow, this acting's really good.
I guess I can take comfort in that, huh? That Papa wasn't in any pain when...
She trails off, releases another ragged breath hidden underneath her chuckles, each one's mirthless, heavy with nothing but sorrow. Then she falters into silence, and for all my attempts at enlightening her burden, I'm suddenly at a loss. Reassurances could only do so much when her only reason for staying here has suddenly been taken from her, a hope yanked from under her feet, right after it was generously given. And without that, without the one person who pushes her to endure, these and all the poop we've been going through, she's going through. It means nothing but a struggle. What does one say to a person fraying at the edges, slowly wearing thin and breaking? Are words ever enough? What right do I have anyway? I cannot give her anything apart from lies that change me as a person and affection she may or may not want for herself. Because no matter how easy she has wormed herself into our lives, how immutable her presence has become, her own heart will always yearn for something else. Fortunately, there's an eternal hope, which we can latch our hearts onto and be happy for. But anyway, for home.
Tell me about him.
Huh? About what?
Your dad. Tell me about him. Anything. Just talk. Say anything you want. Doesn't matter what it is. I'll listen.
Silence again, as she's testing the weight of my question. For what purpose it is, for a reason even I can't say right now. After a while, though, she starts, reluctantly, her voice hitching, faltering and stumbling on each syllable as she chooses her words. A rough start as soon as it steadies. Along with it, to keep company the story